I have completely lost my mind and decided to take Yale University's open philosophy course. Now, this is something anybody can do. You don't have to be a student at Yale. I'm not. You can log on to their website right now, begin watching the lectures. You can order the reading materials and get going. But it is a very time-consuming thing. In fact, it's going to take me probably over 6 months to complete this project. But I thought it would be fascinating for those of you who would love to do something like this but don't quite have the time to follow along on this journey, to see what I learn, and to sort of enjoy some of those benefits. So I'm going to film every one of these sort of insanity fueled trips that I go on. I hope you get something out of this. My goal in creating these videos for you is, one, hopefully to provide some intellectual enrichment so that you can have something interesting to learn as you're busy throughout the day doing your day-to-day. Two, any books that I come across that I think are fascinating and worth the time to read, I'd like to make those recommendations. And then I also want to provide a sense of community on the channel. So again, I host book clubs and everything else, but here in this series, in this playlist, I would love to hear your comments and your feedback down below on each video about the things that you learn, what you think about the Yale course, and so on. All right, let's jump into the intro. This week, we're going to be looking at the course itself, creating a plan for study. I'm going to create a commonplace book to keep my notes in, and I'm going to bite the bullet and buy a whole bunch of reading materials. Let's get into it. If you go to Google, and I just typed in Yale's open course philosophy. So when you do that, it takes you to open Yale courses. If I click there, I've got a couple options, and this is the one I'm looking at, Philosophy and the Science of Human Nature. Now there's a second course available on death with, I believe, Shelley Kagan. But I'm really interested in this one because let's just read the description here. It says, Philosophy and the Science of Human Nature pairs central texts from Western philosophical tradition, including works by Plato, Aristotle, Epictetus, Hobbes, Kant, Mill, Rawls, and Nozick, with recent findings in cognitive science and related fields. The course is structured around 3 intertwined sets of topics: happiness and flourishing, morality and justice, and political legitimacy and social structures. So because I, one, am trying to get more ingrained in philosophy and would love to just get sort of a broad exposure to it, I feel like this is a really great way to go. So this is going to be a good class. So let's click into this and I'll show you what this is going to be like. So when you go in, there is an about for the course, which we just read, and a syllabus and the sessions. So 2 things to consider here. On the sessions, look how many there are. There's a lecture, which is an introduction, all the way down to session 26. We're going to be covering everything from the disordered soul to virtue and habits to the philosophical puzzles, right? Punishment and everything else. I'm really excited about this. And my thought is to do one video per lecture and just summarize what I'm experiencing, bring you along. It's going to be a little more of a vlog style thing so that you can see what it's really like to do this. And I want to be honest, right? Learning can be challenging, especially when you're like me, you got a day job, got several kids at home, you're busy. So kind of fitting this into life is really, I think, valuable, but also really scary and challenging because it is quite the commitment. And so I'm going to try and be open and honest when I fail, when I don't know the material, when it doesn't make sense to me, the questions I have, things I feel like I understand, and so on. I'm really excited for this. Okay, I have added up the cost of all of these reading materials. Now here's the tricky part, and I'm a little confused still because it says texts, and these are the required texts. So we've got Nick McKean Ethics, the Oxford Dictionary of Philosophy, Jonathan Haidt, The Happiness Hypothesis, Plato's Republic, and Jonathan Shea, Achilles in Vietnam. So I don't understand if it's just these are required and then everything else is supplemental. It just says course packet online. Not sure. But I went through and looked at every one of these things and I added up the total cost. So here's what I've got. As I went through and created a little Excel spreadsheet, because I'm a nerdy accountant by day, and I added all of this stuff up. So here's the cost column, the title, and where I could buy it and so on. So if I scroll down, the total cost of all the books and the research articles, if I have to pay everything up front, is a grand total of $625.69. Now, that is maybe a little high, maybe a little low, depending on where you get your research articles. But this is not expensive, and hopefully this is one of the benefits you get from watching this series rather than taking the course. You just saved $625. Well, I have entered step 2 of this video, which is to create my commonplace book for the Yale University course. The challenge is that I face sort of a lot of anxiety whenever I create a new notebook. I really love this process and I despise this process. So I bought a new Flourishing 1917 here. This is my favorite style of notebook for several reasons. It has the gridded paper. It also has page numbers at the bottom, which is really, really helpful because I will be creating an index in here. The purpose of this commonplace book, one, is to, of course, hold all of the information from the Yale philosophy course. I want this to be that book. Anything that is really significant and gets sort of deeper into the research I want to do will be converted into my digital notes on highlightish.com. Highlightish is a tool I use to keep track of all my book notes and my research, and it's a portable digital thing. I can always have my notebooks with me. Now let's get to writing all of this down in this book, which means I have to crack the plastic on this, and it is stressing me out. Here we go. This is like, I don't know why I feel like notebooks are this pristine thing, right? We shouldn't feel that way about them, but I do. I just love the feel of a new clean notebook. It's it's like a life that has not yet been tainted in any way. And what I've started with is an index in the very beginning so that I can see by page number right here all of the sections that are going to be important throughout this book. Now, I start off with my mission statement, which I'll show you in just a minute. But then I've got a section for every part of the Yale course. I have also created a few pages for tracking goals that I have. I haven't identified those goals yet, but I track systems over goals, which I can explain in a different video. But system 1 through 6, I'm going to be trying to change 6 different goals in my life over the next 6 months. I've got a section for the top 3 habits in my life, which I'll show you, some plans for highlightish, and a bunch of other stuff. So let's get into this. Okay, mission statement is to encourage more people to read and to remind them that their ideas are worth sharing. That's why I'm here. I've created a space for each section. So it says Yale, introduction, and then I've got a place for lecture notes. I'm going to give myself 2 pages for the lecture notes, and then I've got 4 pages for the reading notes of that session. So if I go 4 pages in, the second session starts and it begins here. So that's how I've set up my Yale courses. I've also put S2 here for session 2 so that I can quickly glance and see, okay, I'm in session 14 here, and so on. Now, if I get to the next section, these are my systems for things I want to track in my own personal life. So I've got the outcome, the thing I'm trying to accomplish. The system, which is what I need to do on a day-to-day basis. So for example, if I'm trying to lose 10 pounds, the system might be to walk on the treadmill for an hour every day, whatever. My metrics before I start and my metrics when I end. So maybe I'm tracking my body weight and I'd put in what it is here. And at the end of 100 days, I'd put in my weight here. Then I've got 100 boxes that I can just check each day in order to make sure I'm staying on top of my goals. Then this is one of my favorite parts of my commonplace book. I do this every year. I really like it. I've just written January 2024, my top 3. So I've got a row here for each day of the week, 1 to 31 for January. And then I've got 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, and then optional. So what I like to do at the beginning of my day, I don't really follow a calendaring method. I just like to figure out what are the 3 most important things I need to do today without question, non-negotiable. So I'll write the most important thing here, the next most important thing, and then the third most important thing. These have to get done before I go to bed. Optional is if I have extra time and I can add that in. Here's my vocabulary section. So I've written circuitous here because I read this word all the time. I just read it in Great Expectations this morning. I have no idea what it means. I found out it means to take longer than the most direct way. So to kind of go in a roundabout way to get somewhere. And then I've just got a place at the end of the commonplace book here for ideation and notes, which are just a bunch of empty pages that I can use to track any interesting and useful ideas. To wrap up this week's video, I want to let you know that some of the books are coming in for the reading materials, but I'm not going to go over all of these yet because I'll do that in the next video. Since this video is running a little long and they're not all here yet, I'll be collecting all of those, and hopefully I will have everything printed out in a nice binder so that I can take notes and share those with you going forward. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, this is the introduction to the Yale philosophy course, the open course, and there are going to be 26 videos once we get started here, one per session, as I mentioned, and I would love to have you follow along. So if you want to join me on this insane and ridiculous journey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the little bell so that you can keep updated when a new session comes out. I'm going to try and put these out once a week, assuming I can keep up with this insane reading schedule. Thanks for watching. Happy reading and never stop learning.